Welcome back. Advances in artificial intelligence have certainly been blamed a bit for a host of corporate layoffs that we've seen recently. But are companies using the technology perhaps as an excuse that are covering up other weaknesses? Steve Leisman has that story for us. Steve.
David, 48,000 layoffs at UPS, 14,000 at Amazon, 1,800 at Target. A slew of layoffs have raised fears that AI is already whacking corporate jobs. But not so fast. In some cases, companies could be involved in AI washing, attributing job loss to AI when, in fact, it could be a downturn in the business or a simple restructuring. UPS saying in its earnings, quote, "We launched our efficiency reimagined initiatives to undertake the end-to-end process redesigned effort, which will align our organizational processes to the network reconfiguration," whatever that means. My colleague Frank Holland found there was some AI-related job losses, but 34,000 were linked largely to closing buildings, right-sizing the staff levels, particularly in the wake of the online shopping boom from the pandemic. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy had to walk back the impression created by the media and the company itself that recent layoffs were linked to AI. The layoffs, he said, were, quote, "not really financially driven, and it's not really even AI-driven. Not right now, it's culture." Peter Capelli, a professor of management at the Wharton School, says there's little evidence so far that companies are even able to replace workers now at scale.
Using AI and introducing it to save jobs turns out to be an enormously complicated and time-consuming exercise. I think there's still a perception that it's simple and easy and cheap to do, and it's really not.
What we've seen so far, AI taking low-skilled jobs, entry-level, some communications jobs, some white-collar workers, but not in large numbers. These are just early days for the new technology to be responsible for mass layoffs. It could be coming, but investors should be wary of regular old job cuts wrapped in AI clothing. Guys?
In other words, it's an excuse.
It may be, but I mean, Steve, you do have CEOs, Doug McMillon, for example, at Walmart, who's been talking about this a lot lately, kind of indicating we're going to have to, retrain for so many different jobs in terms of what they're going to be. We just don't know, really, is the answer, what's coming at this point.
No, and it's not really to take away from the idea that it is coming. It's just that right now, it seems, David, think about 14,000 bespoke white-collar jobs at a particular place. The thing about technology is it still has to be a commodity that it's replacing, right? So is the job that this person does over here and that person, is AI ready to replace all that? And does all that happen without anybody really knowing it? The point here is not that it's not coming, but it's to be skeptical when companies say it's already here.
The other argument I've heard last couple of days, Steve, has been, post-COVID hoarding, right, where you weren't sure how big your pool of candidate would be if you did not fill a position or if you let someone go. That's obviously changed. I also thought Cook's comments yesterday were interesting regarding the potential negative impact of AI on labor.
I think that's certainly something that I know the Fed is talking about and bracing for. But, when a company like UPS says something like, we've launched our efficiency reimagined initiatives to make the processes to the network reconfiguration, what does any of that stuff even mean? When you come, I mean, that's just a special piece of the use of the English language right there. But look, here's the thing. It is definitely going to be some job losses. But even Goldman, which did a take on, say, 4% this year, maybe 11% over 3 years, there's also going to be jobs created. I'm not saying we shouldn't be afraid of it. I'm also saying it's not coming. It's just right now, it looks like early days to be saying we laid off 30,000 people for AI.
Mike Arrighetti was talking about this yesterday. He was saying it's less in the layoffs and more in the lack of new hiring.
Right.
Because
And
they're trying to figure that out.
we've been saying this a lot, Steve, that it's not necessarily AI related specifically in terms of these layoffs, but much more of what Sarah just indicated in the conversations we've been having at the desk as well with certain of our guests.
I think
that it's what's coming in terms of will it keep a lid on new hiring. By the way, that press release you referenced may well have been written by ChatGPT.
It sounds like it. I think Sarah's got it right. What I think people are doing is this cautious approach of we can't go in and replace those workers, but let's not bring anybody else on before we can figure out how AI does it. The other thing is that let's not confuse automation with AI. We've been automating for, I don't know, thousands of years, certainly more intensely in the last 300. To come along and it automates, that doesn't mean it's AI. One more thing I think is out there, which is that there's so much enthusiasm around the stocks, around the investment. People are very hungry for the results. And it's very hard to see those results, at least now. And people really want to see the results to justify the investment on the other end. So there's maybe some over-exuberance or over-enthusiasm here in trying to see and really attribute AI to certain results at this point.
Watch for the words productivity and efficiency, I guess.
Sure.
Steve, thanks.
Thanks.
With a deep